Video games are a wonderful medium of entertainment, and the extensive range of titles offer everything from mindlessly placing blocks, to mindlessly running to the right, to mindlessly pressing X to Jason, to mindlessly and joyously picking up a prostitute, utilising her services, and then running her over to reclaim your cash. Hello, Daily Mail. And it's this breadth of interactivity that makes it one of the most popular hobbies in the world. But sometimes developers get it into their tenacious little minds that we'd really like a good story too, and what goes better with a decent yarn than a good old-fashioned dollop of mind-f***ery. This video has spoilers. I'm Ben from What Culture, and here are the top 10 video games you didn't realise gave away their major twists. Spoilers. Number 10. Dead Space. Dead Space, aka Isaac Clarke's Day Off, aka the worst Power Tools advert in the world, aka Too Spoopy for You the musical, follows the misadventures of happy-go-lucky space engineer Isaac Clarke as he potters around his ship repainting the walls of powerless rooms with the blood of his former colleagues who've now turned into your worst nightmare. After he's made peace that everything is irredeemably buggered forever, his only priority is finding his significant other Nicole, who coaches him through his various trials like a high school cheerleader if the high school was a necromorph-infested hellscape and she was cheering Isaac on in the hope that he'd not go insane. Guess what, Nicole? You failed! Isaac is totally going proper mental. Probably something to do with the fact that you were dead the entire game and all interactions were the hallucinogenic work of alien artifact The Maker. However, tenacious game writers are tenacious, and they snuck in a major hint that this may be the case. If you put the first letters of each chapter title together, it spells Nicole is dead. This is no comfort to Isaac, however, who has no concept that his ordeal is played out in chapters and knows only pain. Number 9. Life is Strange. Episodic teeny bop emotional angst fest, Life is Strange busies itself with the life and times of talented hipster-cum photography student Maxine Caulfield, Catcher in the Rye reference, who, following an ordeal early in the first episode, discovers she can manipulate time and space, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey, etc, etc. The talk of the fictional Arcadia Bay is missing girl and girlfriend of Max's bestie, Chloe, Rachel Amber. During Max and Chloe's investigation to find out what happened, it's revealed that Rachel was accidentally killed by a fellow student in an attempt to impress their photography teacher, Mr. Jefferson, who has a penchant for drugging female students and taking compromising photos of them. Ugh. This whole revelation is absolutely horrid, particularly when Chloe and Max discover the shallow grave Rachel was left in the very same location they were joking and playing in an earlier episode. However, when Max finds herself drugged in Mr. Jefferson's studio later on, he openly chastises her for not paying enough attention in class as she would have seen it coming. And he's absolutely right. In the very first scene of the first episode, Mr. Jefferson is discussing how photography can be used to capture moments of desperation in people, and he's exclusively looking at the female members of the class. What a creep. Number 8. Call of Duty Black Ops. Call of Duty Black Ops was, for me, the last good entry in the series, and part of the reason for it being so good was that it took a good long look at the Vietnam and Cold Wars, flitting between the two interesting time periods like only a good game could. Alex Mason, the protagonist, spends a decent chunk of the current-day narrative securely fastened to a chair and being intensely quizzed about the numbers, a mysterious code that's being transmitted and awakening Soviet sleeper agents. Mason then begins to recount his journey to his most favourite chair and starts in the Soviet gulag of Vorkuta with the assistance of returning World at War veteran and facial hair enthusiast Viktor Reznov. Along with his new friend Vicky, Mason incites a riot and kills countless people in a mad bid for freedom, but this isn't the end of their journey together. Reznov continues to pop up at several other points during the campaign, many of which don't make sense, including a reunion in a Viet Cong tunnel and a scene where Mason watches him kill a high-profile scientist. It's only later on that we see the same incident from a different perspective, and it's actually Mason what done the killing, with Viktor nowhere in sight. Reznov died during the Gulag escape at the beginning of the game, and Mason was a sleeper agent the whole time. Shock twists, yo. If you paid attention throughout the campaign, the mission designations that pop up spell out X Reznov XX is dead X. Clever buggers. Number 7. Portal 2. Portal's main character, Chell, is destined to test forever, waking up a considerable amount of time after the events of the first game to continue her sole purpose of making her way through Aperture's endless quizzical conundrums. For science, etc. After Stephen Merchant's Wheatley transfers maniacal AI GLaDOS to a potato battery, the player finds themselves outside of the testing facility and in Aperture Science's old headquarters. What do we find out wandering around there? Well, that Aperture founder Cave Johnson was an unhinged, hilarious nutcase, and that his assistant Caroline, for whom he had a soft spot, ended up having her essence extracted into a core to oversee the facility. GLaDOS, in other words. However, before you reach this point in the game, a faulty sentry bot can be found on an assembly line. Should you elect to interact with it when it pipes up with "I'm different," it will spout a load of gibberish. A load of gibberish except for one line. Her name is Caroline. Then you take it to the nearest ledge and throw it off, because that's the kind of heartless monster you are. Number 6. BioShock. Widely considered to be one of the masterpieces of modern gaming, BioShock kicks off when a plane does a selfish crash all up in the sea and that. Fortunately, sole survivor Jack is right next to the very lighthouse that hides the entrance to underwater utopia, Rapture. Convenient. Upon entering a transportation pod known as a bathysphere, he's promptly contacted by a mysterious man named Atlas, who prefaces every request he makes with the words, "Would you kindly?" After your seeming antagonist is introduced, Rapture founder Andrew Ryan, Atlas sends Jack skipping over to sort him out just through the most horrifying place not on Earth. Little sisters, big daddies, splicers, whatever the hell happened to Sander Cohen. It's upon arriving, though, that Ryan announces Jack to be his illegitimate son, who was stolen away at birth by Atlas, real name Fontaine, taken to the surface, aged rapidly, and then brought back to Rapture to help win Fontaine's war against Daddy. After a moment of slack-joyed, "Huh?" you bash your father's skull in with a golf club because he asked you kindly. "Oh," you continue slack-joyedly, and then, "Oh, because you just killed your dad." This whole "I am your father" twist is heavily hinted at in one of the audio tapes strewn throughout Rapture, whereby Ryan announces that only a select few, including himself, could use the city's bathysphere transportation system, access to which is controlled by a DNA ID system. Number 5. Final Fantasy VII. Well, would you look at that, it's the game that got me into gaming. There are all sorts of weird twists and turns in Final Fantasy VII that have led many to call it a little convoluted. However, it's when Spirited, foreshadowing last of her race, foreshadowing love interest, foreshadowing, and party member Aerith/Aeris gets the sharp end of series baddie Sephiroth's 29,000-foot sword that'll stick in the memory of most players. I mean, what the hell, Sephiroth? She did nothing to you, she was just praying and oh god, she had a load of materia equipped. Even though it turns out that the Sephiroth who killed her was just a projection of his mother Jenova, convoluted story alert, there is actually even more foreshadowing that Aerith/Aeris was going to croak. If you talk to the most useless party member ever, you know, the cat riding a marshmallow who actually turns out to be a robot controlled by a Shinra executive in Midgar, convoluted, he'll read your fortune. What you pursue will be yours, but you will lose something dear, is what he says. A little vague, maybe, but the end result is still a kick in the knackers nearly 20 years on. Number 4. Batman Arkham City. The penultimate entry in Rocksteady's Arkham trilogy has you kill off the mother-jeffing Joker. Yeah, put that in your bat pipe and bat smoke it. Appearing as premier villain for the second game running, the Joker is not looking too well for the first portion of the game. Something to do with the end of Arkham Asylum, where he used a substance called Titan to inflate himself up to the size of Andre the Giant if he stood on Andre the Giant's shoulders. Joker then captures the Batman and gives him a little transfusion, just a little one, to infect him with the same disease. Lovely stuff. Oh, and he also sends loads of his cruddy blood to the hospitals of Gotham for totally cool transfusion purposes. Double lovely. Bats then seeks out Mr. Freeze, who's working on an antidote, but it's stolen by the Joker's best beau, Harley Quinn. When Batman returns to the Joker to growl unintelligibly at him, which is, you know, kind of his thing, the Joker appears to be in perfect health, which blood transfusion Batman, terrible action figure idea, is a tiny bit furious about. The twist a bit later on is that this healthy version of the Joker is in fact Clayface taking on his form at the Joker's behest. However, if you use your detective mode during this encounter, you clearly see he doesn't have any bones or internal plumbing. Nice. Number 3. Red Dead Redemption. If you've ever wanted to hog-tie an innocent civilian, put them on the back of your horse and then leave them on the train tracks as a steaming 100-ton bullet hurtles towards them, then Red Dead Redemption was probably the game for you. Hello, Daily Mail. If you're remotely interested in cinema, you'll know that westerns tend not to treat main characters too nicely when the end rolls around, and RDR's John Marston is no exception. Once Mr. Marston has wrapped up killing all them former gang members of his under the orders of the US government, he takes a well-earned rest with his wife by continuing to work in the blistering heat in a time when AC was as unheard of as smiling or just being friendly in any way, really. The government comes back to kill Mr. Marston, because of course they do, but if you commit to the billions of map markers found in games of this genre, you may just come across a mysterious man dressed in black, who at one point remarks that where John is standing is a fine spot. Later on in that very spot, John Marston is buried by his family. Number 2. Spec Ops: The Line. In Spec Ops: The Line, Captain Martin Walker does some horrible stuff. Proper war-crimey level stuff. Besides murdering hundreds of countrymen on your way across a devastated Dubai to reach their leader, defector and former friend John Conrad, you execute a prisoner knowing only that he committed a serious crime, drop white phosphorus on a group of civilians, killing all 47 of them, and you watch one of your squad mates get lynched by refugees, fail to save them, and then get the option to gun down those responsible. It's really tough to stomach the atrocities of war when the glamour filter and wub-wubs are stripped away, even with Comrade goading you on from walkie-talkies and radios as you proceed. What compounds these horrors is that when you finally make it to Comrade's penthouse, you find his dead body, and it's clearly been decomposing for a while. Suffering severe PTSD, it becomes clear that Walker's guilt and fears manifested themselves into an antagonist that simply didn't exist. But the signs were there. As well as imagining an enemy, Walker frequently comes across bodies his allies aren't able to see, and Comrade's face is plastered all over the city, which in retrospect doesn't make any sense. As the game wears on, your squad is increasingly at each other's throats. They grow distrustful of your command, questioning and disobeying orders, even suggesting that Walker is hallucinating. Number 1. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Can I just say this right off the bat? I hated this twist. It made the game feel like a huge kick to the nads, and Kojima can right off with it. That being said, surprise, you never were the real big boss in MGS5, just a guy who had plastic surgery to look like him and had his memories transferred into your brainium. Remember that faceless medic from the Phantom Pain precursor in Quick Buck Factory Ground Zeroes? You know, the one for whom Snake had no extensive interactions beyond pulling a bomb out of Paz's stomach. Well, it turns out you two were best mates, and Big Boss handpicked you to assume his place while he laid low from the people who wanted him dead. Dick move, really, Big Boss. Dick move. When I started up the game, I assumed the character creation screen you were provided with would be for the Metal Gear Online component, but that's actually what the medic looked like before the surgery or something. Stupid twist is stupid. Regardless of what you make of Kojima's stupid twist, you can't deny that you didn't see it coming. But as has become a bit of a theme with this video, there were some clues. Whiny scientist Huey doesn't recognize or trust you, the AI boss pod you come across states matter-of-factly that you aren't Snake, and if you return to your ACC helicopter room, you can angle the glass so that you catch a reflection of the real you, i.e. the character you created at the start. Why, Kojima? And that's our list. Are there any we missed off? Leave a comment below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here, should you fancy it. Twitter handle @confused_dude. I'm Ben from WhatCulture.com, and thanks for watching.